Hello once again, musical explorers. We've covered some essential ground so far. Now we're going to add another layer to your musical understanding. Chords and harmony. First, let's define what we mean by chords and harmony. A chord is a group of notes played together, while harmony is the simultaneous sounding of different notes to create a pleasing effect. In simpler terms, if melody is the story of a song, then harmony is the setting. It provides depth and context. Understanding chords and harmony is crucial for any musician. Whether you're a solo artist or part of a band, knowing how to build and use chords can add richness and complexity to your music. It's like adding colour to a black and white sketch. It brings the music to life. Let's see this in action. I have included several worksheets that will hopefully make things clear for you. There is one sheet dedicated to the basic chords on a piano, and another with the same chords but for a guitar. However, whilst the guitar chord worksheet is a great resource to have, I think if we work from the piano sheets, it will make the relationships between the chords much simpler to see and understand. And once you understand how it all fits together, you will find it much easier to apply that knowledge to other instruments. Let's look at our simple C major chord again. Look at your sheet, and you can also reference the circular fifths picture. The key of C has no sharps or flats in it. Now let's examine a basic triad chord. Tri just means three, so a triad is a chord with three notes. The first note is called the root, and the root note is a C as we are playing a chord of C. Then it is made up of a third and a fifth, so we know there are no sharps or flats. So the root is number 1, number 2 will be D, number 3 is the third, which is E, and that is the second note of the C major triad. Then the fourth note would be F, and the fifth note would be G, and the fifth is the final note of the triad. The root, the third, and the fifth, or C, E, and G. Now, if you look at the diagram for the triad of D major, D is the root, and that is one tone or two semitones up from C. Now, there are several ways of working through this, so you can just choose the way that makes the most sense. If we look at the circle of fifths for D major, at the position of 2 on the clock face, we can see it has two sharps. And if we look at the staves, we can see they are for the note C. Remember, the gaps make up the word face, and that sharp is on the third gap. And then on the fifth line, and the lines make up the phrase, every good boy deserves food, so that makes that an F. So if the root is D, the second is E, and the third is F, and we know the F is sharpened, then the fourth would be G and the fifth would be A. So the first, third and fifth triad becomes D, F sharp, A. Alternatively, if you look at the piano keys, we know that this is D major, and the previous one was C major. So all the notes will be moved to the right by two semitones. So if we look at the C, C sharp is one semitone. And then D is another. And we know that is right because we want a D major. So the root has to be D. Then we look at the third. Now, when we had a C major, the third note was E. So one semitone up from that is F. There is no E sharp, remember? And then the second semitone up would give us F sharp. The fifth note of the chord was a G, so one semitone up from that is G sharp, and the second semitone is A. And as we know from before, D, F sharp and A makes the triad for D major. Let's quickly look at some other relationships before we move on. Sharps. Look at C major on the keyboard. Now C sharp is just moving every note by one semitone instead of the two that we just did to get to D major. Every triad chord there is will move up the keyboard with a similar progression. Why not pause the video and just look at them one after the other? Go on, I will still be here when you get back. Right, now let's just consider minor triads quickly. Let's look at C once again. You can see that the C minor triad has the same root note of C, obviously, and the same fifth note of G. The only difference is the third note, which is one semitone lower, and it is a D sharp. The C sharp minor and the D minor all have the same relationship as we just went through with C and C sharp and C and D. It is all just a pattern that moves up and down the piano keys. Take some time and just go through this several times if you have to, and keep looking at the way the notes move from C to C sharp to D and between major and minor, and you will see everything is a pattern. Now let's add some harmony by playing a G major chord right after it. Right, this is the C major triad to a G major triad. Hear how those two chords work together to create a fuller sound? That's the essence of harmony. You see, what works for the individual notes that make up the key and the triad we just looked at also works for the chords themselves. So, the same way that C, E and G make up the C major triad, if you then string the chords of C, E and G together, they just flow together naturally. So there you have it, chords and harmony, the spices that add flavour to the musical dish. I encourage you to start experimenting with different chord progressions and harmonies in your own music. The possibilities are endless, and the more you explore, the more you'll discover.